How's it going, everyone? My name is Joe Cox, and thank you for tuning in to Joe C. Cox Photo. As always, we do have a new plant for the video. Second, this is an unscripted video. And third, this video will cover my own personal experiences and workflows, so there will be some things included, some things excluded. Now, today's video, we are going to be talking about some video tips, so to help you shoot better videography. Now, I am going to break down today's video essentially into a pre-production tip, production tips, some useful equipment to have, and then one bonus tip that might help you solve an error that sometimes comes up with videography. But to dive into that pre-production tip, a very simple one, and that is going to be to have a shot list and write out that shot list. A lot of the times you might go into a shoot just saying, oh, I'm going to wing it, I'm going to get all the shots there that I need, and I know it'll be fine. And then you get back to the editing, and you're like, oh man, I really wish I had some sort of filler shot for in between here. You would have known that if you had a shot list written out. So when you are writing out a shot list, literally go through each scene and write out what that shot should look like or have a rough idea. Now, to kind of move into the production tips, the very first one that I do want to talk about is going to be our frame rate, or that FPS. So how many frames per second are you picking up when you're recording? Most cameras are going to be in the range of 120 FPS down to 24 FPS. 24 FPS is typically what you see with a lot of movie sets. It's a very natural looking motion blur. It's a very natural way to film, and it just looks very good. Whereas 120 frames per second, that's typically going to be when you want to start slowing down or doing slow-mo shots. So again, whenever we're talking about FPS, it is quite literally a bunch of still images. So if we're at 24 FPS, that is 24 still images played back to back over 1 second, and they make that video. Whereas if you have 120 FPS or 120 frames per second, you quite literally have 120 still images played back one after another for 1 second, and they make up that video. Additionally with that, you can get into the middle of like 30 FPS or 60 FPS. Personally, right now, I'm shooting this video at 30 FPS. It's just where I like to shoot. Don't know why. It's what I personally like the best. But feel free to explore and experiment around with that a little bit. And that's going to kind of lead us into our second tip of the production phase. And that is going to be to always set your shutter speed double your frames per second, or your frame rate. So if you're shooting at, let's say, 24 or 30 FPS, go and set your shutter speed to 1/50th of a second or 1/60th of a second. Inversely, if you're shooting all the way up at 120 FPS or higher, you want to double that. So if you're at 120 FPS, try and get up to about 240, if not 2/50th of a second. That's just going to help make sure that your camera is recording things properly, and if you were to have a shutter speed that's too low, it'll make things look really blurry because you're basically doing long exposures between every still image shot. Whereas if you put your shutter speed too high, more than double, you will start to see like a really jittery effect where your camera... Hey you! Yes you! Quick interruption to your video. Did you know that I also make merch for this channel? I've got things like coffee cups for you. I've got you covered with wall art. I've even got you covered with hoodies and other apparel. I mean, just check out all of this good stuff. So not only are your purchases going to supporting this channel and helping others become more educated on photo and video, but a portion of those proceeds also get donated to the Simplify in America's Fund. So not only are you helping out this channel right here, but you're also supporting the men and women who served in our armed forces. That is kick-ass of you. Way to go, you. But check out the link in the description down below. Go find something you absolutely adore, and let's continue to all support each other out here. It's tough out here. It really is. But I love you. You're each beautiful people, and you know that. But otherwise, let's get you back to your video now. Next on that list is going to be always set your white balance. And this is a big one. There's nothing worse than getting back to editing and finding out that all of your colors between all your different videos are horribly mismatched. So one of the best ways that you can solve that is always manually set your white balance. You don't want to be on auto white balance. Auto white balance can cause a lot of issues. Next on the list, and this is kind of an interesting one, but always record in the nicest quality possible. So a lot of cameras, and as weird as it sounds, will let you choose your quality settings when recording video, so you can go from low, medium, high. Always make sure you're on high. There is no reason not to use your equipment to its full potential. Otherwise, you're just kind of selling yourself short. Moving in now to the equipment portion of things, the very first piece of equipment that I would highly recommend when doing videography is going to be either get a camera cage and a handle, so that way you have more availability on how you can move things, or spend a little bit of extra money and go get a gimbal or a rig. It can either be a shoulder rig, so you have it up on your shoulder and it kind of hangs over, or it can be a gimbal where you get to do the full motion, and of course it's always stabilizing your camera. Huge help. I definitely recommend those. Next on that list, though, is also going to be make sure you have large and numerous batteries and memory cards. Videography will drain your battery quick, and it will take up a lot of storage in the meantime. And then the last thing that I do want to talk about today is kind of an error that will occur. So sometimes whenever you're recording videos, you might notice these weird little lines that are coming down from lighting, and they kind of just keep coming on down at you. And you're like, why is this happening? Like, the light doesn't look like this. The reason that's happening is because but otherwise, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. You're all beautiful people. Thank you so much for the support you give to this channel. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. I'm releasing so much good information right now, and I don't want you to miss out. Why would you want to miss out on that? You don't. Exactly. So give me a subscription. But otherwise, guys, I appreciate you, and I will catch you on that next video. Bye.